Welcome to the Divine Mess, a sanctuary where the dance of the empowered masculine and the divine feminine unfolds in all its glory. Join us as we delve into the heart of these cosmic energies, exploring their attributes and the profound impact they have on our lives. From the raw power of the masculine to the nurturing embrace of the feminine, we uncover the balance that leads to a life of abundance and joy. Our hosts, Kurti Deva Perriman and Tina Ryan, are your guides on this spiritual journey who blend science with soul to offer practical wisdom for harnessing your divine energy. We celebrate the beauty and imperfection, embracing the chaos of life's journey as a catalyst for growth. The Divine Mess isn't just a podcast, it's a movement towards wholeness and self-expression. So come laugh with us, cry with us, and grow with us. Every episode is an invitation to explore the depths of your being and to live out loud, authentically, and unapologetically. Subscribe and join our community of seekers as we support each other in this extraordinary, messy adventure we call life. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you're listening. You're tuning into another episode of The Divine Mess. I am Tina Marie, and today I am joyful and grateful because I've had an amazing week, and I also get to hang out with my very good friend, Mr. Kurti Deva Perriman. So I don't know about you, but I think we might skip introductions today and just dive headlong into the great conversation that we're due to have. I will hand over to my very good friend so that he can start us off for this morning. We should have really started recording about 10 minutes ago, but that's beside the point, really. Welcome to the messy divine world that we currently inhabit.
Yeah, well, I feel like we have not been recording for quite some time, and it's been a while. But we have been learning, like we have been growing at the same time. And by the time of the recording, I think the US are celebrating Happy Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
and some I assume across the world as well. From my perspective, it's a more like a US thing, so
Oh,
I'm not
absolutely.
sure about that. So anyone listening, I think we should be celebrating that every single day.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just one day to be grateful. Uh,
Yes.
so would like to start this episode with gratitude, like Tina said. Like really grateful for this podcast, for the people we have met on our journey. Just
Oh, this
amazing.
year's been amazing, has it not, for the people that we've had?
Exactly, like just amazing people, amazing souls, amazing conversation. And as the time of the recording, we are like moving towards the last month of the year and of 2024. So anytime in the future when you're listening, I don't know when it is, but it's just a gentle reminder to be grateful about what you have
Mm.
and where you are currently. And some days it might feel that you're not, like you're not where you feel you want to be. And then actually, I've been seeing that a lot on Instagram, like you are where you're supposed to be. And that's a gentle reminder, even if your ass is getting kicked at the moment, that's fine. Just
Be
be,
grateful for it.
be grateful for it. When you're in it, definitely you won't be grateful, but the lesson, the journey, who you're becoming. Because like just before the recording, we were talking about spiritual awakening, and Tina had some interesting information about it.
Oh, it's just interesting. I'm not a massive social media fan, but sometimes I like to give it like the first 5 or 6 things that come up on social media. And there was two literally like back to back. The first one, because Dave and I send each other the most ridiculous amounts of memes, just as a way of keeping in contact and letting each other know that we're still alive and kicking and everything is good. The first one was this little bean of a person putting on earphones and going, I'm listening to my friend's voice note like it's a podcast. And he's nestled back there on the couch with a good cup of coffee. It was just like, those are the days when I would be driving and sending voice notes to Dava, and they would be going for quite some time. I was just having little downloads in the car. I don't know if anybody's the same, but normally we get good information when we're driving our car and we're concentrating on a destination. And the other one, woman was talking about people who move through situations like anxiety and depression. And through some of her research, what she's found over the last 30 years is that she feels that it's people moving through a spiritual awakening. Because when she had scanned these people who were moving through these different mental health scenarios, what she found is that the back part of their brain would light up, and it was in the same resonance as Schumann's resonance. So she was saying they're just coming into their own true self and level of consciousness. And we were discussing before we press record, which is crazy. So we should just press record these days. Um, is to, we've all been taught over time that this person is this and this person is this. And when they, show up with all of these symptoms and scenarios, and this is the box that we put them in. But what happens if we blend mental health care with spirituality? What happens if we find a balance between the two where we're not so ready to label somebody? And you know how I feel about that. What happens if we investigate more and we ask more questions, and we're in such a band-aid type scenario where, my son went to the doctor 3 weeks ago, and the doctor actually didn't listen to what his challenge was and just gave him one thing when she actually wasn't listening to the actual symptoms and issues that he has. And I think that's a problem across the board. And I even find it in the role that I'm in now. If we don't truly listen to what someone is actually telling us, how can we help them solve the challenge? Or how can we help point them in the right direction if we're not being present and in the moment, and we're not trying to race to provide a solution or race to provide an answer for somebody because we feel that they're coming to us because they're looking for an answer. But that's where we're putting our ego first and thinking that we have the answers for those people, when actually maybe if we pulled up the couch and grabbed a really good cup of coffee and we just put tape over our mouths, or we just zipped it and we just sat and we listened and we allowed these people to download, and sure, interject with, that's interesting. Or why do you think that? Like I do with my teenage sons, which really infuriates them. Um, I think we might find that people come to resolutions all by themselves. It's an interesting thing to realize that we all have the answers within ourselves. We're just not prepared to look deep enough to find the answers. We want to go to counselors and doctors and mental health professionals and chiropractors and physiotherapists and you name it, coaches, mentors, whatever, because we feel people on the outside of ourselves have the answers, when all perhaps maybe we should be doing is redirecting people back to themselves. So that's my download for the morning. That's my wee little share today.
Yeah, well,
But coming from someone that's trained in that sort of department, I would be interested on your thoughts.
for me, being trained in psychology, I always struggle in the sense that they always say like there's something wrong with someone. You need to fix. You need. There's always a theory saying why you're broken or why you're wrong, why you're doing this. And being in that field for over the past 10 years, I always had this practice anyway, even if I was training. I always believed that people have their own answers. So no matter what the theory was, I always asked them, what do you think? Or what do you feel? What do you think is better for you? Not for the other person or for me, or even to please me, or even, as a counselor. Because some people who came to my practice, they say, oh, I wanted to be strong for you today. And I was always like, what do you mean by that? Say, they always say like, oh, I wanted to tell you the good things, always the good things and not focus on the bad thing. And I say, then you will spend the rest of the week focusing on the bad thing. Because let's say they came for the first session and then you give them some practices or rituals to do, and then they go back and they didn't do it as well as they think they should have, and they question that. And for me, I always go back to, well, take it one step at a time and you have the solution. And I always made it clear in the first session that I'm not here to fix them. They are not broken. I don't have the solution as you think. I can have some tools. Maybe my toolbox is a bit bigger compared to yours, has more tools because I have been reading a bit too much by that, or researching or trying any modalities that can help you. But it doesn't mean like, because it's about finding your own tool. It's about creating your own toolbox. When you get triggered or why, and explore deeper with uh, with that feeling. So for me, it was always about creating that space where they can actually relax and be more calm and actually reflect. So that's how I always seen it as a practice. But I know from my colleagues, they will always speak in terms of, so which theory have you used, which technique you have used. Like when this person, like for example, if you look at the cognitive behavioral therapy, it doesn't even, I can't even say it, pronounce it well now, CBT. So they will say they have a framework called the ABC. So it's like activating trigger, whatever it is, and then goes that behavior. So my colleague will actually speak in those terms. And I will always look at them blank because I don't remember the theory as such. And I never focus on that such. Because for me, it's just a framework. It doesn't mean if I explain someone the theory and I give them like a lecture, for some people it might work, but not for everyone. And people nowadays, they just want simple terms, like simple practical tools. And that's what people are looking at. And I feel like that safe space, people are looking for that. And they don't want to sit by themselves, with themselves. So as a healer, I feel like that's what we offer, that safe space where people can actually sit with themselves to start with, to learn how to be comfortable with that, and then go back and practice it on their own to understand that they have the power within themselves. But I was very clear about that within myself since day one, since I started. And I always challenge my lecturers on that because I don't say that I don't believe in those theories. I can see how it makes sense. I come from a science background with my dad being physics teacher, and it's like in my DNA to look at facts, to research about things. However, for me, it's like, what, who are you like deep down? It's about exploring who truly you are and getting to know you on a deeper level, not on the surface. Because often in the first session, my when they tell the surface story, I always say, so what are you not telling yourself? Or what are you not telling the world? And then they will have that blank stare. Give them some minutes, and then they will tell you the real story. And it depends on people. Sometimes I will say, well, cut the bullshit and just tell me the truth. Yeah. And I'm very blunt with that because often people come to therapy thinking, well, there's someone to fix me. That's the first myth to break. Like you're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. And it's a mindset. And I know, like in that field, it has shifted, I would say, like in terms of positive psychology coming into play. With I know Tony Robbins started that movement as well, like contributed much to that movement in terms of coaching as well. But it has shifted to say that, well, actually, you have the solution. There's a more brighter side to you. There's not only the shadow side, because the side, sorry, has been like bashed for years. Like people has been really uncomfortable with that. But it's about understanding that you can be comfortable with the shadow along with your light as well. Because when we tend to focus just on the shadow, then we are like, okay, there's no light in that, or we have to be the light, you know, and people forget that. So I feel like as healers or coaches, whatever label you want to label yourself, if you just offer, like Tina was saying, with a cup of coffee and put the tape on your mouth, do that if you feel like, like just offer that space. You will see what come out of people. Like it's so magical what can come out. They can have brilliant ideas, but they don't know how to act upon it. Yeah, and that's my take, my perspective on that.
It's interesting though, when we see situations, we see them very one-sided, but life is duality, right? Life is that there's always two, possibly three, possibly 20 different versions of how you can look at something. And the thing is, so often we look in relationships and go, well, he's always angry. And, I would wish that he was more loving or he was more kind or he was more generous. So not only do we condemn them for the behavior trait in which they display openly, because that's the only way they understand how to show their feelings and their thoughts, but we also then condemn them for what they're not being. We condemn them for the fact that they're not loving or they're not kind or they're not generous, or I wish he would be more like this, or I wish he'd be more like Jen's husband, or I wish he would be, more like Beth's partner. He's always so generous and warm and loving. But we have to take a really good look at the characteristics that this key person in your life displays to you. What they're actually doing is building you, into the person that you are. So it may mean that in your journey, you need to become more self-assured and you need to become more independent and you need to be something bigger and bolder and brighter. But if your partner is this loving and kind and generous person, your soul's going to take the easy ride. She's going to sit back and go, oh, I'm going to bathe in this light of love and beauty. And oh, it's gorgeous and it's fabulous. But you're going to have no get up and go. You may have been destined to run $1 billion company, but because your partner is so loving and generous and hands everything to you on a silver plate, there goes the life journey that you're meant to have. It's gone. But because he was an angry so-and-so and would never help with anything and would sit around and act like a lazy ass all the time, it's given you that fire in your belly to get stuff done and to forge your own path forward and to find those things for yourself and, and be pissed off and angry. But at the same time, what you have to recognize is in their behavior in that moment, they loved you, loved you. My own
Okay.
wake up moment, but they did. They loved you. and you wouldn't be the person that you are having divine, amazing conversations if they weren't. Oh, I was meant to have this when I did the work on this 3 days ago, and it didn't come, and now it's coming. So I'm like, okay, I've done the work. It's good. It's,
That's the beauty. That's the beauty of inner work. You never
isn't
know
it?
when it's going to
You're
hit you. That
writing and you're going, and my mentor says, if there's not a tear rolling down your cheek, you haven't written enough words yet. I'm like, oh, maybe mine is not the writing of the words. It's the it's the speaking.
exactly. It's beautiful. It's beautiful what you shared, when you're letting it out, releasing, it's making space for something new. And that's the beauty of having space.
Mm.
That's a prime example. We were just talking about that like a few minutes ago. There you go.
There you go.
And
And it happened live for all your ears to hear. Um,
yeah,
so
and
yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, to have that space and to have someone to share it with. Much better.
well, you're sharing it with the world. So
Uh, here we
just
go. We'll just forward that tape onto the ex-husband and go, you might have been a pain in my ass, but thank you. Thank you for all the help and the assistance. That's good.
yeah,
But
that
yeah,
it, it take a lot of forgiveness, courage, guts, um, self-awareness, I would say. Because just to look oneself in the mirror, because on your healing journey, you learn that every person that you meet is a somewhat a reflection of who you are,
exactly.
but when you're in the moment when you're in anger or frustrated or sad with that person, if I tell you that, you will like literally punch me,
It would
Or
get a little bit like
there
that.
will be all kind of swear words, but when you've done the work, you actually reflect that. It's not when people say that, it's not in this lifetime. Maybe it's in the past life as well. That something happened, that it was a reflection of. Because I feel now um, that we are like an accumulation of those past life, of those, like little gift that we have been given. And that's why when you do the inner work, you start remembering things, you start seeing things, because we have people coming in here and say, like about lucid dreaming, for example, thinking of that and coming and sharing those experiences, even getting access to your Akashic record where you can see your past, present, future, well, potential future, I would say, in that as well.
Choose your own adventure, right?
Yeah. And it's that journey that teach you how to forgive, but more importantly, it's not forgiving the other person. It's forgiving you and
Mhm.
different aspect of it, different version of,
Yeah.
you know, I was listening to
It's the
one.
yesterday version, right? It's the
Yeah.
person that you were yesterday because you've taken that stuff on and you've
Yeah.
learned something about yourself. And it's very interesting when you go back and you hang out with people that haven't seen you in a long time and they
Mm.
just go, what's happened to you? Like, or they walk past you on the street and they don't recognize you because you
That's the
just
best compliment.
vibrate. Oh, I know, isn't it? Vibrate at a different resonance. And it's like, because inside you're going, oh, should I approach that person and say hello? And then they walk right on past you. Nope, not meant to happen today.
But it's just beautiful when you get those, you hear that, or that like, especially if you go to school reunion, and you see, because in some of the movies, I saw that like they go to those 10 years, like 10 years or 20 years. And it's interesting how people change and they're wondering where you are. But nowadays we have social media. Yeah, they can actually see you if they want to, if they remember your name, or even if they try to picture how you are now. And it's the best compliment, to get, I don't recognize you. And it's term of your energy, then like, yep, the inner work is happening. You don't sit. We don't sit. And it can happen to any time, and when it's
Mm.
meant to be released, when it's meant to be release and surrender to it. You have to surrender to it.
There's that beautiful word. I'm just going to embrace it and wrap it up like my favorite baby. And I'm going to rock it and love it and be happy with it.
Mm.
Hmm.
And exactly, that's what we need to do in those moments, and be kind to you, be compassionate to you, because sometimes when we see those parts, and we are like, oh no, why this happening right now? Why this happening to me? But it's happening for you. It's all happening for you, for your growth, for you to shine your light. And those aspect of you need to be released with compassion, with forgiveness, with love, to make space for new, the new you, the real you to come out.
It's got to be, you've got to feel safe and comfortable. I think that's the biggest thing. And to walk into that space and knowing this is who I am. And you know what? If you don't gel with it, if you don't vibrate on the same frequency, that's okay. We don't have to move in the same way to please other people. The only person that you have to face each day is yourself. You just have to be able to feel comfortable looking in the mirror, brushing your teeth with the opposite hand and saying, I love you and I think you're fucking awesome and you're doing a great job, even when you're in the depths and the dark spaces of raising teenage children or dealing with staff or a boss that drives you completely up the wall. You have to be able to root yourself and be who you are despite all the noise going on around yourself. And you have to move forward in alignment with your own values. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I've picked up this year is being in alignment with who I am and not allowing other people to throw me off course. Whether that be my children, whether that be my partner, whether that be my staff, whether whoever that is, this is me. This is the course I'm on. Come with me or don't. It's okay. Or you do you. If you want to do noise and chaos and drama and all that stuff, that's fabulous, but I'm not going to pay attention to it. Got a 20-year-old son who's having a crisis of confidence and uncertain as to where he wants to go next and is considering a very dangerous occupation. And it's like, garner all your information, wait before you make a decision, but how does it feel? You know, where do you feel it? And don't do it because you're bored. Don't do it because you haven't had a you don't want to have a conversation with your boss because you're desperately in need of more information or something. Don't make the big jumps until you have that really calm, still space within yourself to go, oh, this is the next step forward. Because so many of us get wrapped up in that bubbly, fizzy, this feels really sexy energy. But the problem I think that we don't understand is that we can all pick up on other people's energy, and it may be the people that you're with are very extroverted and they're bubbly, and it's their energy that's compelling you to move forward when actually we're not stopping and taking the time to go, how do I really feel about it? What is it? How does it sit and fit on me? not in this moment where we're all sitting around having drinks and going, wouldn't this be a great idea? In the quiet spaces, when you're sitting on your front porch and you're having a cup of tea, how does it sit and fit for me? And I think if we all gave ourselves that little bit of separation before jumping into things and just going, can I come back to you tomorrow on that? Sure, no problem. You're giving yourself space to see whether that energy, that excitement, that exuberance, the champagne bubbles in your stomach, the butterflies in that first romantic meeting, you know, or is it that, or is it something else? You know, is it the anxiety? Is it the nervousness? Or is it, I really like this person? You know, oh, I really think that, guess I'd like to do a girls' trip to the south of France and ride bicycles and put breadsticks in the front of my basket and tuck a bottle of wine under my arm. That sounds like a really great idea. I think I'll do that. Don't know how I'll manage that, but I'll make it work. So it's those sorts of things. We can get really caught up in the heat of the moment, I think. And then this is how we manage to find ourselves in spaces and places, jobs, relationships, 15, 20 years down the line, and you're looking back over your shoulder going, how the hell did I get here? You know, you got swept in that tidal wave and that momentum of religious beliefs and all those sorts of things where you're just going, shit, did I do this for me? Did I truly do this for me, or did I do it because someone over here thought he was a great guy, or someone over there said, oh, that's a great job, and oh, did you see how many zeros are in that salary package, and you need to go for that because you can do all of that. But does it really resonate? Are you gonna walk home skipping at the end of every day and going, oh, feels really good, I've managed to feel good about helping people, whatever your values are? And I highly recommend it's one of those things that you really sit with and you take some time to go, if I had 24 hours left, what would I be doing? Irrespective of money and what would I do with the last 24 hours of my life? And then the other one would be, what would I do if I had 6 months? If I had 6 months left and money was no object, what would I do? And somewhere in that writing will be your top 3 values. I worked out this year that mine are not what I thought they were. Mine are travel and connection and experience. So the podcast, it virtually covers all 3 because I get to travel to different places. Each time I talk to someone, whether they be in Australia but not on the same side of the country, I get to connect with people and we get to share in the experiences of their lives. So this makes it an easy tick for me to do this. But when you're thinking that you're doing it for love or service or compassion and they're not your values, and then you're wondering why you feel like you're getting roadblocks everywhere in your life and things are not adding up, are you actually living each day to your top 3 values? It's a little challenge. Go away and try it for yourself and see what comes out of it, because you might be surprised as to what it is, you know, and maybe get someone else to read it and see what they can garner your 3 values are out of it. But do it, you know, if you're in a relationship, get your partner to do it, get your kids to do it, you know, like if they're more in their mid to late teens, I think it's a really interesting exercise, because I think the faster we get young people to understand what their values are and that they're living by them every single day, then we're not going to have kids who are destructive, who are basically throwing their lives against a wall because they feel lost or disconnected or don't feel like they belong anywhere. When they're living to those values, you're going to find them more productive. You're going to find them, as society, just moving so much faster when they get to do that. And they're interesting questions. They're interesting dinner conversations, at least anyway, to get the ball rolling. Ask, because so many of us feel disconnected from our teens and not knowing who they are and how they see the world, because they're so quick to shovel food down their throats and go into their rooms and jump back on and have conversations on the Xbox or whatever with their mates. Ask some interesting questions. At least it gets their brain starting to think. They may not give you answers straight away, particularly if they're boys. They will definitely not give you answers straight away. But at least they will ponder on that for a while and then come back and go, now, how do I do that thing we were talking about at dinner? It might be a week, it might be 2 weeks, it might be 3 months from the time that you have the conversation. But at least you get them thinking about something more than scrolling on social media and playing on the Xbox.
Well, it's planting the seeds, like
Yeah.
you're just planting those questions that will make them reflect. Maybe even it will take longer, like even when they go to think about their career, then they will think about those questions. Because at this point in time, it's not as important for them in their
Yeah.
world. Because definitely they are not talking about it on Minecraft or Fortnite, about those questions. They're not having those
Or Call of
conversations.
Duty or like
They
it's
are
just
having
move there, do this.
they are having other kind of fun, and that's a beautiful question. I feel like I especially like the one where you have 24 hours. I like that question when we talk about that like a few weeks ago, and I really enjoyed that question to write it down. Like to do. And I think on the following week, I was watching something on YouTube, and it's related to a Mind Valley uh, teacher, I would say. And she said, like, write down the perfect day. Write down the perfect day. How do you
Same
view?
sort of thing, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a different way of seeing it, but it's the same question at the core, and that's how it is. I feel like because earlier we were talking about I was sharing about the different frameworks, but at the end of the day, if you don't sit with yourself, and that's what I tell the clients as well, you can't go to a coach or a therapist and expect them to do the lifting and you get lean, you get ripped, you get your, like the six pack. So you have to do the work as well, which means to anyone that you're going, they are going to ask you the same question in different form, in different language, but at the end of the day, it's all going back to you. It's all about sitting with you. And I think Gabby has an Audible, Your Own Guru, which came out during the lockdown. She wrote that as well. And I think it's a 6 chapter thing. Like it was a short Audible. And there as well, it's like the universe will always guide you back to you. Like when you were speaking earlier, there was one chapter that came clear to me was invisible guidance is always present for you 24/7. It's always there. Like how we have the customer service for any product or services, it's like a 24/7. Doesn't take days off. There's no public holiday or whatever. It's always there. And you just have to
ask.
you have to ask. And sometimes I feel the divine, like most of the time, is like it asks those questions for different people. And until you get that question, until you understand the question, it will come back to you. Just like on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, whatever you are on, you keep seeing those same quotes. Sometimes for the same on the same day, you say, "Wait, I have seen that 3 or 4 times now." Okay, there's a message for me clearly. Universe is like clearly me knocking on my door and will probably smash me down, and just to let me know, well, this is your message of the day and you're not getting it. And
Are you awake? Are you awake? It's like a 2-year-old coming and tapping you in, at the beginning of the day. Are you
yeah,
awake, mummy? Are you awake? Yeah.
yeah. And that's where you need to sit with you. You need to
Mm.
sit with you. No matter how many courses you go, no matter how many teachers you go, at the end of the day, you will have to sit with you. And that's where the greatest teacher will come. That's where the greatest insight will come for you,
Mm.
that is meant for you, for this lifetime, for this journey, and maybe to help in your future lifetime, to heal now. And that's what happened when you're having those conversations, like on the podcast, it triggers something in you, and oh, this is the message I needed to hear today. This
Mm.
is what I'm meant to be doing, even. Like when you
Yeah.
talk about the values, and our values are kind of similar, like in traveling, but for me, it was more the cultural experience. But
Yeah.
other than that, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
And I totally agree that the podcast, it's, yeah, easy, best decision of my life, like to do that because the amount of people, and can't wait for next year when more people, and we are just opening doors and we are opening again for welcoming new energies, even people who has been there, who has been here before. You're most welcome, like to come back
Yeah.
and to share their learning, because even people we have pulled back, and when you see their growth, it's interesting to see how far they have grew as well, and how far we have grew, because it's a reflection as well of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's an interesting, isn't it? Because the people that we have spent time with, one of them threw the question back at us, right? That, had said, "Oh, well, let me interview you two." And, to an extent, you kind of go in and go, "Oh, this person's got an amazing toolkit," right? Their skills and their abilities are just inspiring. And then when they throw it back at you and you kind of have this ego moment of going, "Oh, I don't measure up. Oh, that's not, I don't have those skills and abilities." But I think what it's showing you is that, yeah, you do, and all you've got to do is just kind of tap into the right section in the filing cabinet, because it is available to everybody. Their awakening has just opened up that section of the filing cabinet. Mine opened up my own section. It opened up my ability to be intuitive and to speak truth and to do the things that I can do without thinking about it. I think that's the interesting thing. I think you have these skills and then people ask you, "Well, how do you do that?" Or, "Can you write a procedure manual on how you come to be that person?" It's like, no, I just can't. I mean, really, if you go back and you recount the story of your life, because I've also had to do that this week, it's just like, oh, sometimes things get muddled, right? The order of stuff gets muddled in your head, but you can pick out the points in your life where certain things went ping, that went, it's like someone's flipped that light switch on, and then that light switch went on, and that one went on. The thing is, we just do who we are, but a lot of us I would say, in this community are a little bit wary of standing out and flying our little freak flag out there and going, "This is me and this is who I am." But it's okay. Like, I think for so long and for so many generations past, there was social consequences for us saying that, we were great herbalists and we were great healers, and You know, we were great seers and we could, you know, interpret somebody's fortune or their life moving forward. So we did it behind closed doors and we did it underground and we did it in spaces where other people couldn't see, and we were quite secretive with the gifts that we've been given. But I think now, you know, moving into this age of Aquarius that we're moving into is now the right time and space to be comfortable and okay with being uniquely you, being just exactly who you're meant to be. You know, the little bit of spice and a little bit of sass and a little bit of woo-woo magic, as my boys call it. Whatever your flavor happens to be, whatever your gifts are, was another one I sent to Dava. It's like a pear tree doesn't give off pears for itself. The pear tree gives off pears for the people that walk past it. Don't withhold your gifts so that pears die at the bottom of the tree. Share your gifts willingly, because then they give off life to other people. So I thought that was a really fascinating analogy the other day. Was just like really resonated. You know, like some people go, "No, don't dim your light for other people," and, you know, don't hide your gifts and all the rest of it. But then sometimes I'm an extremely visual person, and to see that in my head was just like, you have one of those divine God moments where you're taking that really big deep breath, and it's like your third eye just went ching. Woke up, and I went, okay, I won't.
Yeah, and also not everyone loves pears. You know, like
No, apples are good too. Oranges,
exactly.
lemons, grapes. We all love grapes in different forms, sometimes in a glass. You know, we all have our
And that's
unique
why
ways.
she's having just after that call at 8 in the
No,
morning.
no, definitely not. No, I'm
Yeah,
off the booze, off the coffee, off the sugar, off the
yeah.
everything. Mental clarity diet for this
Mm,
next journey I'm going to be walking on for the next week. So
yeah,
it'll be
and we
a
are looking
fascinating
forward.
walk.
We are looking forward to hear that, you know, to hearing that a little bit more. And Tina with a box of wine, maybe. You don't never know.
Baguette and a bicycle.
Not see the video, but she was looking at me and we both know what that look means. So we'll leave that for next time.
Holy moment.
How do you think? It's a good time, I think, to say
I think so.
thank
I think
you.
so.
Thank you for today as well.
Bless you. Thank you.
It's been a wonderful, heartwarming episode, I feel. And
Great
it's
catch
good
up.
to reconnect, to have that space for just the two of us, you
Yeah.
know, that we don't welcome anyone else, but we do. But
But
sometimes it's
we're two
great.
great, unique individuals just on our own, right?
Yes, we do. And on that note, I will leave Tina, you know, to say the last few words. But from
Oh.
me, it's thank you. That's
Mm.
all. Go for
So
it.
here we go. We love you. Thank you so much for your most precious resource, which is your time. And we look forward to having you join us on the couch whenever you have the next spare moment. So until then, take very good care of yourselves and go ask some really good questions, because you never know what you're going to get out of it. Till then, take care.
Thank you. We'll see you.